fundraising campaigns. Why not, and what else they can do for your nonprofit organization. Hi, I'm Bill Stanczykiewicz, and this is the first day from the Fundraising School, joined today by our Dean Emeritus, Dr. Gene Temple, who is a longtime leader in fundraising campaigns as a fundraiser and as an instructor for the Fundraising School, a gift that Gene first generated from the founders of the Fundraising School, Henry and Dottie Rosso, who, when they retired, donated the Fundraising School to Indiana University. And here we are, thanks to Gene Temple. Gene, great to have you back with us on the Fundraising Schools podcast.
Great to be here, Bill. Thank you for including me.
And you are a nationally and internationally regarded leader in fundraising, including on fundraising campaigns. And in our fundraising campaign course, we teach the how-to. But before we get to the how-to, nonprofits need to understand the why. What do those early conversations look like? Who is having those conversations? And why should I be thinking about having a fundraising campaign?
Well, Bill, we say that all fundraising rests on the case for support, and we teach that in all of our courses, of course. And there's research that backs that up. That people who give to annual funds, any kind of project inside the organization, they do so because the organization is filling a need, and that's our case for support. That's our rationale. And the case for support is more important in capital campaigns, perhaps, than in any other kind of fundraising, because capital campaigns have this urgency connected to them. And that urgency typically emanates from inside the institution, where there's a need in society that can only be met by expanding the capital of the organization. And so there may, in fact, be a need that can only be met by a new facility or for different types of equipment that get added to an organization, or perhaps because the budget needs to somehow be permanently expanded on a regular basis, and that budget can't be sustained from fees, et cetera. So the organization may want to build its endowment, but everything comes back to the case for support. Of course, we have to have these conversations inside the organization. Somebody just can't run out and start a capital campaign, although that sometimes happens, and we'll talk about why that matters in an organization. That you just can't start a capital campaign because there has to be a rationale. There has to be a vision for the future. I've said on many occasions that the research shows us that donors will give. They will do philanthropy if there's a vision for the future that improves on the present, and that is doubly true in a capital campaign. There has to be a reason. There has to be a vision. There has to be somewhere we're going where we can't be today with the funds we have available to us.
And so the nonprofit has this vision, sometimes from the staff, sometimes from the board, sometimes from other stakeholders within and externally to the organization. And the only way to fulfill that vision, as Gene just said, is to expand the organization. It can be with buildings, it can be with equipment, it can be with an endowment, it can be many different factors in a fundraising campaign that all nonprofits can participate in. You know, Gene, sometimes people think, well, I'm not the big university, I'm not the big hospital system, but really campaigns are a strategy for all nonprofits, right?
All nonprofits can participate in capital campaigns. The local theater, the homeless shelter, all of these types of organizations have a need for facilities. They have a need for expanding services. Every homeless shelter has been overwhelmed the last several years, for example. They need to expand into new facilities, perhaps, into more facilities. And so every organization can, in fact, participate in capital campaigns. Some organizations can depend on the community for support. Others have to depend on their donor base for support. And we talk about all of these things in the capital campaign course. But every organization can, in fact, make use of the capital campaign if they follow kind of the rules of the capital campaign. And that starts with the case for support. All fundraising rests on the case for support and a vision for the future that improves on the present. And then they prepare themselves properly through the test for readiness to get to the capital campaign. So that is, in fact, the rationale. That is why we do capital campaigns. We do capital campaigns because we want to increase the impact of the organization. We want to, in fact, be able to serve more people. We want to meet new and emerging needs in society, et cetera. And we can't do those without modifying our facilities, adding equipment, building an endowment, et cetera. It allows us to do that.
And all of those reasons are why the phrases also are used: comprehensive campaigns or broadly fundraising campaigns, in addition to capital campaigns. All of that is covered in our coursework at the Fundraising School. And Gene, you've articulated informative and inspiring reasons why a nonprofit should do and can do a fundraising campaign. But what are some of the reasons why not? That, nonprofit has this notion for whatever reason, but the reason isn't good, it isn't noble, it isn't inspiring like those that you just described for us. I'm sure you've observed this quite a bit in your career. What are some of the reasons not for a comprehensive campaign?
Well, the thing you hear the most is that someone in the organization will say, it's our turn. The other organizations have done campaigns, and now it's our turn to have a campaign. And people haven't thought carefully then about what's the case for support. So someone says, it's our turn. The question to ask is, what's the case for support? And that usually will get the conversation started in the direction it needs to start. Or someone will say, well, it's been a while since we had a capital campaign. It's time to have one again. Well, the question is, what's the case for support? You can't just have a capital campaign. You have to organize it. You have to go back. You have to find the case for support. You have to do the test of readiness. You have to start from the beginning as opposed to starting somewhere at the end. And sometimes there are, in fact, egos involved. I mean, I call this campaign envy. Like someone had a campaign, we need to have a campaign. And so, I'm looking weaker as an executive director or as a board chair because my organization is not having a capital campaign. Capital campaigns have an aura about them, and very often people associated with the organization on the board and elsewhere, staff, maybe even some donors who are donors to the organization, want a capital campaign because it says something macho about the organization. It says we've arrived when you do a capital campaign. So those things are all redundant to the capital campaign and may be extraneous and outside benefits, that we now have arrived, but you can only arrive if you have a case for support, if you have a vision for the future, if you have a strategic plan that helps you move in the direction that supports a capital campaign.
So we just encourage folks, stay with those reasons that Gene described at the start of our conversation here on why to do a campaign. And if you're hearing those campaign envy reasons, those ego reasons, those it's our turn, it's been a while reasons, your professional stance as a fundraiser needs to ask that simple question that Gene has reiterated for us here today. Well, what's the fundraising case for support? Why would we do that? What are those practical and pragmatic reasons? What is that vision? And how is expansion going to help us fulfill that vision? Gene, what other category, as folks think about campaigns, are the intangible things that can happen for a nonprofit? The energy, the vibe, in a good, healthy way. Can you describe when a campaign is done for the correct reasons and designed properly, what type of signals that nonprofit is sending out, either internally to staff and board and volunteers and donors, and also externally out to the community?
Well, you'll hear reports from staff and board alike that they're energized by a successful campaign. that even as the campaign is reaching success, even before it's finished, there is a lot of energy around what's happening, the fact that people are supporting this big idea that the organization is expressing through the case for support, that they're confident about the future. Those kinds of things bring back to the organization a kind of energy and aura of success that brings people together, that helps them think positively about the organization. One of the big things from the public is that when they see an organization having a successful campaign, they think of the organization in a more positive way. They think of the organization as solid, that it can plan, that it can that can position itself for the future, and they give the organization credit for being able to draw in the donors who are supporting the capital campaign. And of course, the result is that the organization is able to expand its mission. It is able to meet the need. And once people and donors first, and then people out in the community see the organization doing that creates a whole new base for the organization in terms of moving forward in the future. And in fact, maybe there is another campaign in the future, if there's a case for support to build on the success that this campaign engenders. It's one of the maxims about these campaigns is that they, in fact, put a lot of the organization's reputation on the line. And that's why the case for support and the careful planning at the beginning is so important, because campaigns work on a timeline that the public begins to know about, and donors who give to the campaign may be working on a different timeline, especially the major donors. And so it has to be done very carefully. And if an organization fails in completing its capital campaign, it's usually has a negative impact on the perception by the community of that organization. So careful planning in the beginning, understanding why we're having the campaign, going back to mission, and then the case for support based on that mission. Those things are really, really important.
And then we flesh out the details, the how-tos in our course, Fundraising Campaigns, Comprehensive and Capital, at the Fundraising School, one of 24 public courses that we offer. And the Campaigns course is part of our certificate in fundraising management. We have 3 other certificates that we offer at the Fundraising School. And these courses are available in person, online, either in a recorded version or in a live virtual session as well. Those recorded versions and online versions available in the United States and anywhere around the world. We also have custom training where we can bring a course like Comprehensive Campaigns just to you, or we could take some of this course, some of that course, some curriculum tailored just for your sector, your nonprofit, knit that all together into custom training for your nonprofit, your association, your region, your country even is in our portfolio as well. We have our quarterly webinars and, of course, these podcasts. Thanks to Dr. Temple, we have Achieving Excellence in Fundraising now in its 5th edition. Jean has been an editor or co-editor on the last 4 of those textbooks. And all this information is available on our website at philanthropy.iupui.edu/the fundraising school. I'm always grateful and learn so much when we have a chance to talk with Dr. Jean Temple, our Dean Emeritus at the Indiana University Lilly Family School of Philanthropy, on a podcast produced today by Mike Anthony and Jennifer Boffman. I'm Bill Stanczykiewicz. Now you are now more fully informed on this first day from the Fundraising School.